my story. For a lot of years, my wife and I practiced birth control. But then we decided to start a family. So we practiced that for a while. But after 2 years, unsuccessful years, we decided we really needed to sit down with a fertility expert because nothing was happening. Well, after some tests and some examinations, the doctor decided that some of our infertility issues could be resolved with surgery. And so my wife went through that process while I stood by supporting her. Following that surgery, we learned about charting temperatures. Sounds like some of you know about that. So we had a chart up on the wall and a very special thermometer that measured incremental changes in body temperature. And of course, when the temperature spiked that much, she was ovulating, and it was time. Well, there's a story about that. I worked in an adoption agency, and I was in the middle of a staff meeting one day, and my secretary comes to the door, and she says, "Your wife called. She needs you at home right now." And I was a little startled, and I was kind of gathering up my stuff, and as she was leaving the room, I said, "Well, Julia, did she say what the problem was?" And Julia turned. She thinks she's ovulating. So all my staff knew what I was going on for. Well, we practiced charting for another year or so before the fertility specialist decided we needed some more tests. And this time, he wanted to test my sperm to make sure that everything was okay. So, off to the fertility clinic I went, and my name was called, and I was escorted into a hallway by one of the technicians, and she walked me down the hallway, where at the end there was these 3 small rooms. And she handed me this plastic vial. And she says, "We want you to go into this room and deposit your sample into this vial." And I looked at the vial and I looked at the room, and I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And she says, "Oh, of course you can. All kinds of guys do this. We have magazines and everything in there to help your frame of mind." So I said, the magazines aren't going to help. I don't think I can do this. What might better work for me is if I went home and provided my sample there. And she was very frustrated with me, and she sighed, and she says, "Well, if you insist on going home, you're going to need one of these." And I looked at the bag, and I looked at the vial, and I said, "What do you want me to do with the bag?" And she said, she kind of chuckled a little bit. She goes, No. She said, "You put your sample in the vial, you put the vial in the bag, and you bring the sample back to the lab in the bag." I said, I think I can do this. Then she said, "But there are 2 things you've got to remember. Number 1, it's got to be back to the lab in 30 minutes. Number 2, you cannot contaminate the sample." I said, "Contaminate? How am I going to contaminate the sample?" She says, "Lubricants. You cannot use lubricants. Do not contaminate the sample." So I went home that night and explained this process to my wife. Now, she was a real trooper. through all this. She had all kinds of ideas as to how we might get this task done. And she contributed, and I had some ideas too. So the next morning, we set out to accomplish this goal. I was successful. I managed to get the sample into that little plastic vial. I put the vial in the bag, I folded the bag up, and I raced to the clinic to get there in that 30-minute time frame. I made it with 5 minutes to spare. I walked in the clinic, up to the counter. There were 10 people in line in front of me. And there was a woman at the front of the line arguing with the clerk behind the counter. Well, someone, fortunately, took notice of me standing there with the bag and motioned me to the front of the line. She took the bag from me and whisked it away, and I never saw it again. Until tonight. A few days went by when we found out from the lab the results, and we learned that the sperm were so we found out that the sperm was healthy and alive and fully functioning. So the next process was to deposit the sperm into the mucus, because we needed to test the sperm while it was in the mucus. So the next appointment we had, I accompanied my wife to see the doctor. They called her into the room, and she was gone for a few minutes, and then someone came out into the lobby and asked me to join the doctor and my wife in the room. When I walked in the room, my wife was on the table, and feet in the stirrups, and the sheet very modestly placed. And the doctor said, come here, come around the table. I want you to watch this. So I went around the table, and he says, and he pulls back the sheet. He says, now, look at this. And he reaches in and grabs the mucus, pulls it out, and says, this is very good mucus. And he snips off the mucus with a pair of scissors and drops it in a dish. Then, to swim upstream. So we had to come up with an alternative plan to have a family. Plan B. And my wife and I, that was adoption. So we eventually met a little girl who was 20 months old. And we finalized that adoption in about a year. And I'm here to tell you that was the greatest experience of my life. She's a terrific kid. You should all meet her. So, that's my story. Thanks.